What do we have today?
Good, looked pretty healthy to me right there.
He did.
Yeah, right. Remember when he put out his own video of him working out with like 125 pounds on the barbell, doing squats and whatnot? I mean, good. He's in great shape, obviously, right?
Yeah.
And then, of course, he did the big Hennessy reveal. Looked great, walking to the chair, drinking some Hennessy.
That had been recorded.
Well, it looked fantastic.
Yeah.
So it comes out yesterday that LeBron James is out for 3 or 4 weeks minimum.
Yeah.
Will miss the start of this NBA season because he has sciatica.
It's just his damn sciatica.
LeBron James was dancing, not some slow, careful movement. I'm talking full energy, arms up, moving around, having the time of his life. The video went viral because LeBron looked incredible, healthy, strong, like a man in his prime, not someone dealing with any kind of physical issue. Then, exactly 1 week later, he announced he had sciatica, out for 3 to 4 weeks minimum, missing the start of the season. His whole lower back situation was apparently so bad that he couldn't take the court. And when that announcement dropped, a lot of people immediately thought the same thing. Wait, what? Because here's the thing about sciatica. It's not something that shows up overnight in a professional athlete. It's not something that develops between a fun dancing video and the start of a season. Sciatica is chronic. It's typically associated with older people or people with specific conditions, not someone who makes their living by being in peak physical condition. So the internet did what it always does. It started asking questions. Not nice questions. Real questions. Questions about whether this injury was real. Questions about what LeBron might actually be doing during this time off. And one of those questions got so wild that it created an entire conspiracy theory that people are still talking about months later. And if you think you know where this is going, you probably don't. Buckle up. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, make sure you hit subscribe because we break down the craziest moments in sports and the stories behind the headlines that you won't hear anywhere else. We don't just accept the surface-level explanation. We dig deeper. And today, we're digging into one of the wildest theories about LeBron James that actually had legitimate people on national television saying it out loud. Let's get into it. The timing doesn't add up. Here's what we know for a fact. LeBron James showed up on a Twitch stream that Kai Cenat was hosting. This wasn't some random stream. This was a live event. People saw him. He was moving around freely. He was dancing. He looked great. Then, a few days later, the Lakers announced that LeBron had sciatica and would be out indefinitely. Now, if you've ever had back pain or know anyone who has, you know how quickly sciatica can hit. One day you're fine. The next day, you can barely move. It's real. It happens. So, technically, it's possible that LeBron went from healthy at that event to dealing with sciatica days later. But here's where people started paying attention to the details, because LeBron had also posted videos of himself working out. Not light stretching, actual weight training, squats, heavy weight on the bar. He looked strong. He looked powerful. He looked like someone who was training hard for the season. Then comes the announcement, sciatica, out for weeks. Some people in the media didn't buy it. They started pointing out that LeBron has a history of taking time off right before the season starts, or right before the playoffs, or during what people call meaningless parts of the season. They pointed out that when he comes back from these mysterious break periods, he suddenly looks completely refreshed, like he's 25 again. And that's when one sports analyst took it to a place that shocked a lot of people. The conspiracy theory nobody saw coming. A former television analyst, someone who had worked in the industry for years, went on air and essentially said this: LeBron James is faking this injury, and he's faking it for a very specific reason. According to this theory, LeBron isn't injured at all. He's taking time off to go to Europe. And while he's in Europe, he's supposedly undergoing treatments and procedures that aren't available in the United States. The kind of treatments that could enhance his physical capabilities in ways that might not be totally legal. The analyst didn't come right out and say LeBron is using illegal drugs. He was more careful than that. He said he wouldn't be surprised if that's what was happening. He said the timeline didn't make sense. He said the sciatica diagnosis came out of nowhere. And he said it would be very convenient if LeBron came back from this injury looking completely different, stronger, faster, more explosive than before. And here's the thing that made this theory spread like wildfire. It wasn't totally crazy, because this happens in professional sports. Athletes do go to other countries for treatments. They do use procedures and therapies that aren't available at home. The difference is usually whether those treatments are legal or not. The analyst specifically brought up Kobe Bryant. He said Kobe went to Germany for treatment. He implied that maybe LeBron was doing the same thing, and he left it ambiguous. Either LeBron was getting legal recovery treatment, or he was getting something else entirely. That ambiguity is what exploded on social media. The Kobe comparison that nobody understands. Here's where this gets really interesting. Because whenever this theory comes up, LeBron fans immediately jump to the same defense. Well, Kobe went to Germany too. And they're right. Kobe did go to Germany multiple times. But here's what they don't understand about what Kobe actually did there. Kobe went to Germany to get something called PRP therapy. Specifically, he went for a type of PRP treatment that wasn't FDA approved in the United States at the time. It's called orthokine therapy. Here's how it actually works. They take blood from your body. They heat that blood to a specific temperature. That heating process triggers the release of natural anti-inflammatory proteins. Then, they inject that blood product back into your injured area, your knee, your ankle, whatever needs treatment. This is important. It's using your own blood, something that's already inside your body. They're not putting anything foreign into your system. They're not introducing any external substance. It's your own biological material being used for healing. And here's the key part. PRP therapy is completely legal in the NBA. The NBA, the Players Union, and the World Anti-Doping Agency all consider it a legitimate medical treatment. It's not performance enhancing. It's recovery-based. It helps heal injuries. That's it. So when people say, well, Kobe went to Germany, what they're really saying is, Kobe went to Germany to get a legal medical procedure that wasn't available domestically. That's a huge difference from what the conspiracy theory was suggesting LeBron was doing. Because if the theory was just about LeBron getting PRP treatment or some other legal recovery procedure, nobody would care. That wouldn't be a story. That wouldn't shock anyone. But that's not what was being suggested. The elephant in the room, performance-enhancing drugs. The conspiracy theory wasn't really about recovery treatments. It was about something much more specific and much more serious. It was about EPO. EPO stands for erythropoietin. It's a hormone that your body naturally produces. It's responsible for stimulating red blood cell production. And when you have more red blood cells, your body can transport more oxygen to your muscles, which means you have more stamina, which means you can perform at a higher level. That's why EPO is banned in professional sports. It's one of the most well-known performance-enhancing drugs in the world. It's been used in cycling, distance running, and various other sports. It gives athletes an unfair advantage that's almost impossible to detect using standard testing methods. And the conspiracy theory was suggesting that LeBron might be going to Europe specifically to use EPO or something similar. Now think about how serious that accusation is. The analyst wasn't saying, I think LeBron is doing this. He was saying, I wouldn't be surprised if LeBron is doing this. There's a big difference. He was leaving the door open while also clearly indicating that he suspected something. And here's why people took that seriously. Because LeBron's athleticism at his age doesn't make complete sense from a purely logical standpoint. He's in his early 40s. He should be declining. Athletes don't typically maintain the level of explosiveness and endurance that LeBron has maintained as they get older. It's physically difficult to do. That doesn't mean he's definitely using anything. It just means the question gets asked, the history of taking breaks that people don't like. To really understand why this conspiracy theory gained traction, you have to look at LeBron's pattern of injuries and absences over the years. Because here's the thing. LeBron has a history of taking time off at very specific moments. Right before the playoffs start. Right before the season starts. During what some people call meaningless stretches of the regular season. And every single time he comes back, he looks completely refreshed. Not just rested. Completely different physically. That's unusual. Most athletes don't have that kind of pattern. Most athletes either play through injuries or take time off randomly, but LeBron's absences have always seemed strategically timed. There was also an incident during the playoffs a few years back. LeBron claimed he had an MCL sprain so severe that he almost didn't play in a crucial playoff game. He said later that he wouldn't have been able to take the court if his team hadn't been eliminated. People were talking about how serious this injury was, and then, literally the next day, video surfaced of LeBron dancing. Not carefully moving around, dancing, full movements, the kind of movements that someone with a serious MCL sprain probably couldn't do without significant pain. So when the sciatica announcement came out, people remembered that. They remembered the history. They remembered the timing, and they started connecting dots. What actually happens in professional sports? Here's something that people don't talk about enough. Players do take trips. Athletes do seek treatment outside the country. It happens all the time. The question is always, what kind of treatment? There are legitimate recovery clinics all over Europe, places where athletes go to get advanced physical therapy, hyperbaric oxygen chambers, cryotherapy. These are all legal treatments designed to help athletes recover faster. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing illegal about it. But there are also places where athletes can get treatments that exist in a gray area. Treatments that aren't necessarily illegal, but aren't necessarily sanctioned by professional leagues either. And in some cases, there are definitely places where athletes can get things that are straight up illegal. The problem is that without knowing exactly where LeBron went, if he went anywhere at all, and what he did there, you can't prove anything. You're just speculating. That's actually the most frustrating part of this whole situation. Because the conspiracy theory isn't provable. It's based on timing and patterns and historical context. It's based on the fact that LeBron's athleticism seems almost impossible for someone his age. It's based on the sciatica diagnosis coming out of nowhere, but it's not based on actual evidence. Why people believe this stuff? The reason this conspiracy theory resonated with so many people isn't really about LeBron specifically. It's about the broader context of professional sports and performance-enhancing drugs. Because performance-enhancing drugs are real. They exist. They're used. The sports world has been dealing with this issue for decades. From cycling to baseball to track and field, we know that athletes use substances to gain advantages. We know that testing systems have gaps. We know that money and competitive pressure create situations where people are willing to break rules. So when something seems off, when an athlete's performance or recovery seems unlikely, people's minds immediately go there. Because it's not like we're talking about something that doesn't happen. It's something that definitely happens. The question is just whether it's happening in this specific case. And without concrete evidence, you can't really know. You can only speculate based on the evidence you do have. In LeBron's case, the evidence people point to is the sudden sciatica diagnosis, the healthy appearance right before the diagnosis, the history of strategic absences, the impossible-seeming athleticism for his age, the timing that allows him to come back fresh for important parts of the season. None of that proves anything by itself. But taken together, it creates a narrative that at least seems plausible to some people. The counter-argument: just because you're old doesn't mean you can't be athletic. Now let's be real about something. There's a bit of ageism baked into this whole theory. The assumption is that because LeBron is in his early 40s, he shouldn't be able to perform at the level he's performing at. And therefore, if he is performing at that level, he must be using something to enhance his abilities. But that's not necessarily true. LeBron's athleticism makes sense when you look at the full context of his life. He's been taking care of his body since he was a kid. He spends millions of dollars every year on recovery, training, and nutrition. He has access to the best trainers, the best doctors, the best facilities. He's genetically gifted, and he's been playing at the highest level consistently for nearly 2 decades. That combination of factors can absolutely explain why he's still athletic in his late 30s. It doesn't require performance-enhancing drugs. It requires what he's actually doing, elite-level dedication to his craft. That said, the sciatica diagnosis still doesn't make sense from a medical standpoint. It's just a weird diagnosis for someone in his condition. That doesn't mean he's lying. It just means it's unusual. And unusual things are what spark conspiracy theories, what we actually know. Let's separate the facts from the speculation. Facts. LeBron James announced he had sciatica and would be out for several weeks. He had appeared healthy and athletic just days before this announcement. He has a history of taking absences at strategic times in the season. He has made comments in the past that suggested he might not have been completely truthful about previous injuries. When he comes back from these absences, he often looks completely refreshed. Speculation. He's faking the injury to go to Europe. He's using performance-enhancing drugs while overseas. He's using PRP therapy or other legal recovery treatments. Here's the reality. We don't know which of these speculations is true, or if any of them are true. We only know the facts. And the facts by themselves don't prove anything about what LeBron is actually doing. The bigger picture. This whole situation raises a bigger question about professional sports and transparency. Because even if LeBron is doing nothing wrong, if he's just resting and recovering legitimately, the mystery around it is what creates conspiracy theories. If the NBA and its teams were more transparent about injuries and recovery, there would be less room for speculation. If we knew exactly what LeBron was doing during his time off, we wouldn't have to guess. But professional sports operates in a world of privacy and strategic information management. Teams don't tell the public everything. Players don't share their medical records. There's a business side to sports that sometimes works against transparency. And that's where conspiracy theories thrive, in the gaps between what we know and what we're told. So whether LeBron is actually doing anything controversial or not, this situation shows us that there's a real hunger for information and transparency in professional sports. People want to understand what's actually happening. They want to know the truth. And when the truth isn't provided, they'll create their own explanations. That's not necessarily healthy, but it's understandable. The final word. At the end of the day, we don't know what LeBron James did during his time away. We don't know if the sciatica was real or not. We don't know if he went to Europe or stayed home. We don't know if he used any treatments, legal or otherwise. What we do know is that the timing was weird, the diagnosis was unusual, and the pattern of behavior raised questions. But asking questions isn't the same as proving guilt. Raising concerns isn't the same as finding evidence. Speculation isn't the same as truth. The conspiracy theory that LeBron went to Europe to use performance-enhancing drugs is compelling because it explains some things that don't quite add up. But it's still just a theory. It's still speculation. It's still based on inference rather than fact. That doesn't mean it's definitely wrong. It just means we don't know for sure. What we do know is that LeBron came back from his injury and looked great. He played well. He helped lead his team. Whether he did something controversial to get there or just recovered naturally, the result is the same. He played basketball. And that's what matters in the end. If you made it all the way through this video, you clearly care about getting the real story behind what's happening in professional sports. That's exactly the kind of critical thinking we encourage here. So if you haven't subscribed yet, now's the time. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss when we drop new videos analyzing the moments that matter. Drop a comment below. Do you think there's something weird about LeBron's injury? Do you think he's just recovering naturally? Let's have a real conversation about it in the comments. Thanks for watching. Catch you on the next one.